MaXXXine is the third movie in the X trilogy, and to be honest, I was pretty excited entering this movie. I won't say I was like going in with super high expectations just because that's just kind of not how I tend to operate with franchises, but in terms of how franchises go, I enjoyed X a good amount, and then I loved Pearl, quite frankly. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. I bought it on Blu-ray. Big fan of the film Pearl. I thought it was great. And so I was cautiously optimistic going into MaXXXine. I think watching the trailers, none of it really got me too excited. I was kind of actually curious as to how this is going to go, as the plot of this movie is MaXXXine, who is playing this, Mia Goth, playing the same character she played in X, is now trying to transition from being a porn actress to just a traditional actress being in horror movies. However, while she does this, there is a serial killer on the loose, and that is essentially the plot. It's basically a murder mystery paired with her trying to be a successful actress. There's a lot of carryover from Pearl, with Pearl, of course, wanting to be a star. Now, MaXXXine is, it's almost like a blend of Mia Goth's characters from Pearl and from, X, even though literally it is just simply the character from X. So I was excited. I was optimistic, and again, the way I view it is that typically with these kind of movies, even when they don't fully hit, they're still entertaining, and unfortunately, that is the camp I am in with this one, is that it did not fully hit, but I did still find it entertaining. Quite frankly, there were a lot of just questionable decisions that were made, and I do want to get into spoilers at a certain point. I will do that at the end of this video. I'm going to, once I give my rating, then I'll give you a spoiler alert and then go into some spoilers. But broad strokes, if you haven't seen the movie yet, when it comes to my biggest criticism of this film, I actually think it's just the character of MaXXXine herself. A lot of what she was doing wasn't really driving the plot forward, but more or less kind of just existing as things happened around her, which in a horror movie, usually you can pull this off because there still is a threat of, okay, is someone going to get killed? What's going to happen? So that's not usually a massive concern when it comes to horror. But I think that in a movie like this, where there are just a lot less traditional horror scenes, since this is almost more of like a mystery than it is a horror, I think that it really hurt the overall film to have her kind of be more of an interesting character, not being someone who's making a lot of decisions or driving the plot forward at all. And I didn't think that her, the way things ended really worked, given the way that, it feels like they wanted it to work. Which, again, I can't really get into too much until we get into spoilers, so I'll put a pin in that. But another issue that I kind of touched on already is, I talked about this kind of being a mystery. Honestly, this was a movie that tried to be a lot of things. It tried to be an action movie at certain points. It tried to be a mystery. It tried to be just a regular horror movie. There was one scene involving, that we saw due to, on a video camera, we saw the footage of it that I thought really worked, and that was a really effective horror scene. But other than that, I found that most of the horror was kind of a little sometimes it was fun silly, and fun silly isn't a bad thing. That's still good. But then some of it was just, I was kind of just like, what are you doing here in certain aspects of the horror side of things. I don't think this works as a horror movie. And again, I think that it was just trying to do too much and didn't really nail any one particular thing, which kind of just left me feeling like this was an overall mixed bag. Also, some of the character decisions in this movie were just bizarre. I won't say what the situation was, but MaXXXine is going to a certain place. Again, I don't want to spoil it. So she's going to a certain place where it might need to move around a little bit, and yet she's wearing high heels. And I'm just like, doesn't seem like a great idea. That doesn't seem very smart. And she literally was at home and then went there and is still wearing the high heels. So it's not like she was somewhere else and just didn't have time to go home and change. That was the decision that she made. And that's one little nitpicky thing. But there were a lot of those types of things, a lot of character decisions that just made zero sense, which again, I can get to more in spoilers, but they did bother me. They did take me out of the movie. And again, I didn't think the characters in this film were anywhere near as strong as Pearl or even X. I thought the characters were much stronger in X than this one, where it almost felt a little bit like it was just a watered down version of characters we've seen in previous movies. That being said, there were plenty of things I did enjoy about this movie. The look was very good, and like I said, I didn't find myself bored at any point during this movie. In fact, I was thoroughly entertained every step of the way. Maybe it wasn't because the film was working the way it was supposed to work. A lot of times it was kind of almost ironically liking certain aspects of this movie, but again, at the same time, if I'm enjoying a movie, I'm enjoying a movie. If I think that a part is kind of stupid, but I'm still laughing and having a good time, then I'm not laughing because I'm in a theater, but if I'm still having a good time, then okay, I'm still having fun. I'm not mad at that. So I actually kind of would recommend this movie if you are a fan of X and Pearl, even though this didn't work for me. I think I'm ready for spoilers, so I'll give my rating. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 here. Again, found it entertaining, really enjoyed, hey, I still like Mia Goth in this role, even though I don't think the character was a great one. Mia Goth tends to be someone who has interesting performances at the very least every single time she's on the screen. And like I said, even if there's some questionable filmmaking decisions throughout this movie, that's part of where the fun came in for me. So an entertaining watch. Definitely there are, ways you could waste an hour and 40 minutes more, but this is probably one that for me, I have AMC A-List, so if you have A-List or something like that, just go out and watch it. I'd say it's worth it. If not, might be one to wait for streaming. But yeah, those are my spoiler-free thoughts. I really have to get into spoilers to discuss some of the stuff I was mentioning, so let's get into spoilers. Spoilers starting in 3, 2, 1 now. So I brought up the ending, and I want to be clear on exactly what my thoughts, what I meant by that. The ending essentially is she decides to kill her dad, which, by the way, another one of those things made zero sense. The police are watching her, telling her to drop the weapon, so if you shot him, then, that seems like that would be an issue, right? That wasn't, there's just a lot of little moments like that. But regardless, that's whatever. Again, I wouldn't have minded it if, I'm sure you could look at moments in X or Pearl that do that, but I didn't mind it because I like the rest of the movie. To me, kind of my frustration with this film is essentially what happens with MaXXXine is she goes through this entire movie. At the end, she does make the decision to decide to confront the killer and decide to kill the killer, but then she just gets captured, and then somebody saves her, and then somebody else saves her, and then she, is in a position where she can kill her dad, and kills her dad, and then all of a sudden gets everything she wants. And it just felt like, so what was the point of that? That wasn't a full character, arc for me at all. Kind of just felt like things happened to her. She did make a decision or two here and there, but nothing that I wouldn't have expected her to already make at the beginning of the movie. So I kind of just felt underwhelmed by this. The twist ending of it being her dad is the killer, it's fine. I don't know. I don't have a big beef with it, whatever. It's always hard to get the correct, perfect killer or anything like that. Was a little weird to pick someone who literally hasn't been in a movie to be the killer, but okay, whatever. Did remind me a lot of House of the Devil, another Ty West film, a better Ty West film. Watch that one if you haven't seen that already. That one's good. Definitely has a lot of similarities here, but I actually really like that one. So yeah, I would recommend that. But yeah, again, some of the character decisions that just didn't make sense to me is so they capture if you haven't seen it but just don't care about spoilers. At one point there's a private eye who is following MaXXXine and just making some baffling decisions that make no sense. His plans just make no sense. He confronts MaXXXine and I get why they wanted to do this, but he confronts her on a a Western type set, and they almost have a Western type showdown, which of course sort of it's oh, hey, it's a Western, that's fun. But logically, why are you meeting her here? Why you have to get on set somehow with a gun, and you can't shoot her because there's people around that would obviously attract attention, and then also you know where she lives. It's not like that's the only way you have access to her. So what is the plan? Then she just runs away, and she runs into the psycho house. Why are you run towards people? Don't run away into a cornered area. What's going on? Later on, they capture the private eye because I guess her friends are just cool with helping her murder someone. Okay, I guess that's a decision that they made. But I'm thinking they have a press thing, like one of those car press things. They're gonna, press him in the vehicle, which is a fun kill. That's fun. But right when they started doing it, I'm like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. She's gonna hit the pause button, and then she's gonna say, okay, now you have to tell me where the serial killer is, right? Like, because he's working with the serial killer. That just seems like that's logically what you would do, is try to figure out who the killer is. Instead, she just kills the private eye and then just moves on with her life. And then by herself later on, as her friends are cleaning up the mess, she then goes to confront the serial killer. It's like, again, it's a weird decision. None of this stuff is making sense. Listen, when it comes to horror movie decisions, it's not an end all be all to have some decisions that don't fully make sense. But when there's so many that just take me out of the movie, it was a flaw for me, and I probably wouldn't have minded it so much had there been more of a there with this movie. But that was just, again, a small issue. I'm not someone who gets too hung up on those things. Like, it is what it is. But like, I did notice those things. They did take me out of the movie. Like that, it just kind of is what it is. And it's just a weird kind of misfire, I feel like, by Ty West and Mia Goth, who kind of, I feel like, were firing on all cylinders. And, hey, Mia Goth had a writing credit on Pearl. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe they need to go back to that. Well, I don't know. Because, again, it's not like, well, there were very silly moments in this movie. There were plenty, I mean, like, the silly stuff that happened. Like, Pearl literally ends like a 5-minute shot of just Mia Goth trying to smile the whole time. These are silly movies at the end of the day, but I feel like the characters is really what I keep coming back to. And in X, I thought the characters were really good. In Pearl, the character of Pearl was like awesome. And so like with that's what made those movies work. Here, like MaXXXine just didn't really work for me. And because of that, I think that I noticed all the other flaws just that much more. And also, I'm just going to say it as well. That shootout scene by the pool was dumb. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was very good. Again, I shouldn't say it was dumb. I shouldn't say it wasn't very good. It didn't work for me is really what I mean. Because, I was ready for at least some sort of horror aspect happening here. And instead, like I said, it kind of just came down to, here is this one cop who was here to save you. And then, another cop, actually saves that cop. And then, Mia Goth gets out of it. And then, later on, the other cop, injured the dad enough. Like, again, MaXXXine never even really, like, she didn't have to work that hard to get what she wanted. And just the fact that it was basically an action movie instead of like a horror movie, I get why you want to kind of subvert things. But like I said, it's a film that I think wore too many hats and would have been better off maybe dialing it back. But again, at no point was I bored. That's what I'll say. I enjoyed watching every minute of it, and well, I'm hopeful that if they make another one of these, it will be more like one of the first two. If they make another one, I'm still going to see it opening weekend. I'm still going to have a good time with it because these are movies that I think at the very least are interesting. But yeah, as I said early on in this review, Pearl was, I believe it was like my third favorite movie of 2022. It was one of my favorite movies of 2022. Unfortunately, MaXXXine is one of my biggest disappointments in past few years in terms of movies. But that's just how franchises go, I suppose. Those are my thoughts on this. If you made it to the end of this, I appreciate it. Check out my letterbox if you haven't already. It's Jackson Kruger. Simple enough. Check that out if you're interested. Let me know your thoughts. Have you seen MaXXXine? Do you disagree with all of my points? Let me know in the comments below. I hope it worked for you. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.